Namaste and welcome, beloved members of the Jyotish community. I'm so excited to be here with you today to continue my series of every planet in every nakshatra. In my first video, I discussed the moon through the first 9 nakshatras, which starts in Ashwini Nakshatra and ends in Ashlesha. Today, I'll be starting with Magha Nakshatra and ending with Jyestha, and I'm very excited to share my research with you. So welcome everyone to the second production of the Every Planet and Every Nakshatra series, and the community voted that we started with the moon. So I was pretty excited to start with the moon, as the dasha system and the nakshatra system is very much deeply connected to the moon and focuses around the moon. So it's really the right planet to start with. Before I start, I just want to give some gratitude to my various gurus. My uncle Durgadas David Newman, who helped introduce me to the Vedic lifestyle. My Jyotish teacher, Mahadev Stephen Levine. One of my Jyotish teachers, Simon Chikoisky. A deep and profound teacher for me was also Dr. Vasant Lad. And I would like to give the greatest blessings and all of my devotion to my Satguru Mata Amritananda Mayima Amaji here, and hoping that she will bless this presentation. So before I start discussing things from a more scientific and educational perspective, I like to get the bhakti going with a little chant. So we'll get a chant going to bring the moon's energy into our session today. Dadi Sankatu Sharabam Kashiro Dharna Sambhavam Namami Sashinam Somam Sambormakuta Bhushanam Dadi Sankatu Sharabam Kashiro Dharna Sambhavam Namami Sashinam Somam Sambormakuta Bhushanam Om Dadi Sankatu Sharabam Kashiro Dharna Sambhavam Namami Sashinam Somam Sambormakuta Bhushanam Om Shram Shrim Shram Saha Somaya Namaha 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 Om Aim Klim 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 Somaya Namaha. Hari Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste. So let's get started. First, I'd like to discuss kind of how the moon works with nakshatras, which I call the moon's activation of nakshatra karma. So when a planet enters a specific nakshatra, it begins to bear the fruit of the karmic lessons, patterns, and evolutionary aspects of the soul. So when a planet joins a nakshatra, all these lessons and patterns start to form that influence us. The moon's primary signification relates to the manas, or the mind, where we can understand when the moon enters a nakshatra, it's going to have a primary effect on the manas, the mind, and the mental patterns of the native. In our mind is where our desires sit as well. And so, in that sense, the moon's nakshatra position can show desire in a very deep way. And also, the moon is the emblem of devotion. So, we can understand the moon's nakshatra placement as seeing certain devotional aspects, which we may have, which either may be pure or troublesome. So let's get right into it with Magha Nakshatra. We're going to talk about when the moon is in Magha Nakshatra, which starts at the 0 degree of Leo and goes to 13.2 Leo. Now, Magha Nakshatra has the ruling planet Ketu, which is a strict enemy to the moon. So from a Nakshatra dignity perspective, this can be a very challenging moon placement. We mentioned one of the key significations of the moon representing our mind and our desires, which when K2 influences that can be really extreme or detached. However, there's a lot of positive potential because of K2's association with moksha. So when a native has their moon placed in Magha, it does create this very powerful bond with the ancestors. And I'm talking about a bond that goes beyond that your grandparents and your great grandparents, whoever might be living, but a bond with your ancestors that are way beyond this lifetime for you, your ancient ancestors, which is a very deep and spiritual theme. Magha Nakshatra has the ruling devatas of the Pitris, and they represent the first humans as we know it and the establishment and creation of humanity. They represent a special force of protection against destruction, as well as a deep connection to a healthy ego and self realization. This is also a deep connection to our ancestors, both living and, as I've mentioned, those that are not living of more ancient times. This creates an effect where our ancestors, through these Petri's energy, are energetically whispering in our ears, encouraging us in different directions, pushing us to fulfill our dharma and our destiny, blessed with this power and protection of the Petris. So I always like to think of this Magha position moon as your ancestors are whispering in your ear to encourage you to find your dharma and continue to grow. The positive manifestation of the moon in Magha includes realization of a healthy ego, self-esteem, and personal power or pride. This position can allow for leadership, both of a traditional manner, CEOs, managers, owners, bosses, but I've also seen it show non-traditional leadership, such as spiritual, religious, occult leaders. So this alignment can allow someone to reach very high positions in life, but to maintain humility at the same time when it manifests is really the evolutionary aspect of Magha, because Magha wants to help rise your position in life, but it also wants to keep your ego humbled. So that's part of the journey of the Magha moon native. The negative manifestation of the moon in Magha can include detachment, unavailability, and an inner selfishness towards achievement of one's goals, which means I'm only thinking about myself here. They can be leaders or involved with dark organizations with their powers, such as cults and other strange spiritual groups. So, just like you can be a positive spiritual leader, there can be a dark spiritual leader energy here too, or maybe someone who's more fraudulent. Due to various combinations of K2, we may feel overburdened or overpressured from this ancestral connection, right? Like that energy of the ancestors whispering in your ears can sometimes feel overwhelming. And so due to this, we have to cut unhealthy karmic ties to our ancestors, because not every energy connected to our ancestors, which are living, and our ancestors, which are past, are healthy. Sometimes they're toxic and we need to cut those ties. And K2 helps us cut those unhealthy ties. Because sometimes those energies that are given to us are not always the what we need to carry around with us. Next, we'll be discussing the moon in Purva Phalguni, which starts at 13.2 Leo and ends in 26.4 Leo. So Purva Phalguni is within the entire sign of Leo. Now, Purva Phalguni Nakshatra has the ruling planet Venus, which is an enemy to the moon. From a Nakshatra dignity perspective, this can be a very challenging moon placement, but can also have some nice effects. This Venus and moon alignment creates a very strong feminine energy, regardless of gender. This is a very feminine energy. It creates a powerful attractiveness within the native when the moon enters Purva Phalguni, and this is represented by the Shiva Lingam often, which on a deeper spiritual level represents restraint and controlling of our tantric energies for spiritual evolution. Now, Purva Phalguni Nakshatra, in addition to the Shiva Lingam, has the ruling Devata of Bhaga, which is the Lord of Fortune. Now, Lord Bhaga blesses the moon Purva Phalguni native with a certain level of prosperity and abundance within the life. Lord Bhaga has been known to bless his natives with marital success as well as material success, as indicated here in a good moon Purva Phalguni placement. This combination creates deep desires to feel either material happiness, marital happiness, and sometimes both. It's either or both, but there's focus around these things. And fortune is also something we have to understand on a deeper spiritual level, because fortune is a blessing. It's not luck, but it's how we handle the blessings that we get in our life that can create positive or challenging karmas. So the moon and Purva Phalguni natives must keep their desires elevated as to not suffer karmic repercussions of unelevated desires being satisfied. Because again, Purva Phalguni can have this desiring energy when the moon enters it, but we have to make sure that the desires we're satisfying are healthy. And that's a real mature Purva Phalguni native. Now, the positive manifestation of moon in Purva Phalguni includes a beauty, attractiveness, magnetism, and an incredible drive towards happiness in many aspects of life. These natives can have successful marriages, as well as business creation, investments, and collaborations, which might yield success. It's all from that magnetic energy. They are inclined to want to help other people in their experience of pleasure because they've learned many lessons of pleasure, so they can help other people learn lessons of pleasure and happiness, and can have a real aptitude of sharing when the circumstances allow. They do want to share because sharing is caring, and it's how we help other people feel pleasures through that hospitable energy. It's a very hospitable energy, the moon in Purva Phalguni. Now, the negative manifestation of the moon in Purva Phalguni can include a hedonistic tendency, which is pleasure seeking, overindulgences, and a desire for things which are not always ethical. They can struggle with restraint against their weaknesses, right? Their desires. And this can include challenges in fidelity, which means being truthful to your partner, relationship with food, drug and alcohol issues, and even codependent tendencies. So the challenging manifestation of moon in Purva Phalguni includes this kind of, I'm going to sacrifice myself and put other people first. We call that codependency. And it can be other self-destructive behaviors that are more important than the things that we should be prioritizing in our life, which is all this potential we have with the fortune, with the gifts that we're given. It's what we do with those gifts that we're given in Purva Phalguni. So it's important that we use the gifts that we're given with the moon in Purva Phalguni for positive things. The difficult manifestation is when we use those gifts for things that aren't so positive. Moving on to the next nakshatra, I'm going to discuss Uttara Phalguni. Now, Uttara Phalguni starts in Leo at 26.4, but it goes into the Virgo sign up to the 10th degree. Now, Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra has the ruling planet Sun, which is a best friend to the moon. So from a nakshatra dignity perspective, this can be one of the best placements. This is the yoga or union of the king and queen celestials, sun and moon. It creates a powerful balance of masculine and feminine energies that we evolve with to find balance, to accomplish goals and grow spiritually and have healthy relationships. Because only balancing of our masculine and feminine energies can we have an ideal experience of this life. Moon Uttara Phalguni natives are naturally inclined through this combination to push themselves to very high positions in the area of life where their moon is activating, because the Uttara Phalguni energy, it is really pushing them to that direction. This is partially because Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra has the ruling devotee or deity of Aryaman, who I call the Lord of the Milky Way. The great power that resides in this nakshatra through its ruling devata Aryaman can often go unnoticed. but actually in the Rig Veda, Aryaman is mentioned as a supreme deity. It is said of the journey of Aryaman is along the Milky Way, that the Milky Way is the path of Aryaman. In this sense, the possibilities of achievement are endless for the Moon and Uttara Phalguni native. This combination of Moon and Aryaman creates a native who is inclined to reach the furthest possible destination along their journey, because the Milky Way, our galaxy, is a large place. This combination inclines the native to push through challenges and struggles in life to accomplish their goals and reach positions they are drawn towards. Again, the Milky Way, our galaxy, is a huge place, and the Moon in Uttara Phalguni pushes us to these things beyond our imagination. Through Aryaman, the positive manifestation of the Moon in Uttara Phalguni includes determination, accomplishment of goals and objectives, and the achievement of the native's desires. It can allow for us to even take others on a journey of self-empowerment so that they can create their own journey in this vast and beautiful galaxy, right? When we empower ourselves, then we have a gift to empower others. This is something that the Moon in Uttara Phalguni shows. This alignment creates a leadership tendency, but not a real desire to lead, right? There's a leadership ability, but not always is the Moon in Uttara Phalguni desire to lead as much as desire to be self-empowered and the accomplishments of the individual's dreams, goals, and aspirations. So they kind of lead by example, but they don't necessarily want to lead a large group. Often these goals are deeply aligned with prosperity. You know, the goals for the Uttara Phalguni moon, it's prosperous because of Aryaman. The possibilities are endless. And this prosperity goes to family, partner, children, and spirituality. It can manifest in many forms. Now, the negative manifestation of the moon in Uttara Phalguni includes ego inflation, superiority complex, and someone who thinks they always know the correct way. It can allow someone to get so caught up in their goals and the accomplishment of them that they decline other important areas of their life, such as family, partner, children, and spirituality. So it's important here that your goals are aligned on a higher level, not so caught up in the selfishness. The inability to balance selfish desires and to balance the other important aspects of life is a deep evolutionary theme here in Uttara Phalguni. How do I balance my own desire for my own goals and dreams with that of my loved ones, my family, and my spiritual goals as well? Next, we're going to be discussing the moon in Hasta. And the moon in Hasta is a very unique position. It starts at the 10th degree of Virgo and goes to 23.2 Virgo. So it's within the whole sign of Virgo. But Hasta Nakshatra has the ruling planet moon. So from a Nakshatra dignity perspective, this can be a superb moon placement as it is self-ruled from a Nakshatra perspective. Hasta moon placement focuses deep karmic evolution involving our manifestation of love in this lifetime. As it can be studied, love manifests in many forms. But when the moon enters Hasta, there's many lessons that come in. How do we express love in its different forms? To our self-love, to our partner love, to our family love, in our marriage love, in our friendships love, conditional love, and unconditional love. These are very powerful themes of the moon in Hasta. It is a very powerful and deep exploration which manifests over the lifetime for the moon Hasta person. So how do we express love in all of its forms is a beautiful, beautiful aspect of Hasta moon. Now, Hasta Nakshatra has the ruling devata of Savitar, which is the sun lord. The power of the solar energy from Savitar on Hasta, again, now we have a sun moon energy, which includes profound powers of manifestation. Savitar manifests. Hasta, often represented by the hand or the palm, shows us through Savitar's blessing that we can manifest that which we manifest, we can obtain. So if we put power to manifesting something, it will manifest. Savitar has offered us that blessing with the moon in Hasta. This combines with the natural devotional and love-oriented energies of the moon and creates someone who manifests dreams and wishes, not just for themselves, but for their loved ones, right? We have dreams for people that we care about, and the Hasta native can manifest dreams for their whole family. They can create harmony, unity, and balance within the family ecosystem, and even become matriarchs or patriarchs in their family. Now, the positive manifestation of the moon in Hasta includes the ability to have deep empathy and the capacity for unconditional love. This alignment allows the native to see past themselves and have deep compassion for the world and others, offering deep, wise advice and consultation at the appropriate time. The moon and Hasta people, they give the best advice. But it's evolutionary. They have to be asked the advice. Unevolved, they just give advice without being asked. They are natural leaders and can consult and offer guidance on how to obtain the fruits that we desire. They are masters of manifestation and the laws of attraction. So they can help offer this gift to others as well. Now, the negative manifestation of the moon in Hasta can include confusion in terms of love and its many manifestations, because that's a deep lesson to learn. When the moon in Hasta is uninvolved or poorly placed, it can create a codependent tendency where the native puts the desires of their loved ones always ahead of their self. This can also be a deeply position which the family is distracting for the native with the moon and Hasta, that achieving dreams beyond the family level can be seem challenging or overburdensome because the family is such a big theme here. They can be conflicted between following their own dreams and aspirations. I want to do this. I want to go here versus supporting those of others who they feel love towards. I want to do what my husband does. I want to stay where my family is. They can have this conflict. Deep evolutionary lessons of life being a two-way street and a reciprocal relationship are key themes here, right? So again, the Hasta person is really offering and giving gifts, but sometimes that can, if we don't receive something in return, that can be abuse. So there are deep lessons to be learned here too. Now we'll discuss, let me have a sip of coffee here. So next we're going to discuss the moon in Chitra. The Chitra starts at the 23rd.2 degree of Virgo, but it goes into Libra to 6.4 degree Libra. Now, Chitra Nakshatra has the ruling planet Mars, which by debate acts as an enemy to the moon. Different people say different things. From a nakshatra dignity perspective, this is a mixed moon placement. Chitra nakshatra placement makes the native very drawn towards opportunity. And the moon's placement here can find that opportunity challenging on an emotional and mental level. In other words, Chitra is always activating these opportunities for you. And when there's too many opportunities, it can weigh heavy on the mind. However, coming into balance when taking action towards these opportunities and balancing our emotions are found. So it's the Chitra moon person can still, choose the opportunity and go towards it, but they have to balance their mind. Chitra Nakshatra has the ruling Devata Vishvakarma, the supreme architect of the universe. He is known for total master of the occult arts and offers the incredible power to gain recognition in this life. The divine architect who created and orchestrated the whole universe as we know it combines with the moon's energy here and creates dynamic action. Moon and Chitra natives have a special ability to develop deep mastery of the occult science. That includes astrology, Ayurveda, and even magic as we know it. We can get into cities and metaphysical powers here. They also, through the attractive qualities of the moon and Vishvakarma, which will bestow the blessing of recognition, even exaltation upon the native in their lifetime endeavors. So they can really get a lot of recognition, support, awards, fame, even being seen on the public stage with the moon and Chitra here, because opportunities and recognition find them through Vishvakarma. Now, the positive manifestation of the moon and Chitra includes all of these opportunities which are naturally attracted to the native. The opportunities find you. And if there is another opportunity for their recognition and expansion around every corner. So one opportunity, then another opportunity, then another opportunity. This is very powerful. We put that energy to the opportunity when the moon is in Chitra. It also includes deep devotion to the mystical arts and a wide range of possibilities, as I mentioned. including Jyotish, Ayurveda, Vastu, yoga, Tantra, magic or mysticism, shamanism. It really includes an attraction and an ability there. The possibility to transmute all of our desires, right? All of this desiring energy into mystical, spiritual exploration and spiritual attainment is a very high evolutionary aspect of the Chitra moon. How do we take these desires that are here on the material world and transmute them to our spiritual desires? That is an evolved Chitra moon. The negative manifestation of the moon in Chitra includes a challenged mental well-being, which means sometimes they feel they're falling short of achieving their objectives, right? You get lots of opportunities with this placement, with the moon in Chitra. But if it's an unevolved moon Chitra, then the opportunities could be missed. So an opportunity can come and show itself, but if you're not ready to take action through Mars, then the opportunity can be missed. So that's a challenging manifestation of this. Don't miss those opportunities. You have to take action towards them. Another challenging manifestation is this inclines the native to the occult arts, which is beautiful and can be used for healing. But there's a dark spectrum of the occult arts as well, right? And we all have to consider that. Sorcery, it's something that the Moon Chitra person should stay away from, but they may be attracted to it. It's one challenging aspect. Next, we'll discuss the moon in Swati. Now, the moon in Swati starts at 6.4 degree Libra and goes to the 20th degree of Libra. So Swati is in the entire sign of Libra. Swati Nakshatra has the ruling planet Rahu, which is a strict enemy to the moon. From a Nakshatra dignity perspective, when the moon is in a Rahu Nakshatra, it's going to have a mixed effect, but it can create a mystical energy as well. The moon in Swati can create an energy where the native is swayed from one direction in their life quickly to another, creating a very transformative and sometimes unpredictable life path for the moon Swati. Now, Swati Nakshatra has the ruling devata of Vayu, the lord of wind. This creates a profound effect when the moon enters this nakshatra. It brings a windy Vayu Vata element into the nakshatra. And an energy of our desires, which is connected to our will being different that of the divine will or the universal will. So while many Jyotisha will commentate the challenges of this position, right? The moon in Swati being challenging, I find it really beautiful in many ways. This native will have a certain desire that they will put their devotional energy towards because of the moon's placement in this nakshatra. But if that desire, what they're putting energy towards, is not in alignment with universal will, God's will, the divine will, Lord Vayu will come in like a tornado and take that desire from underneath of you, leaving the native feeling frustrated and confused. However, this is a blessing in disguise, as whatever the native thought their path was is limited in terms of what the higher power has in store for the native. So there's a very strong, deep theme here, is that what is our will, what we think is our potential, what we think our plan is sometimes not always in alignment with God's will or God's plan. And that's a deep lesson for the Swati moon, to surrender to God's will, to surrender to God's plan, to bend our knees. The positive manifestation of the moon in Swati includes a really strong natural intuition. These are intuitive people, and gifts in the occult mystical sphere. These natives with the moon in Swati are truly evolved and pragmatic, and they go with the flow in life. So when it's evolved, they flow like the wind, and they go with the flow in a very positive way, knowing that the flow could take them anywhere at any time. And there's an acceptance of that, and there's an excitement of that. So they're very pragmatic. They go and flow with the wind, and they're excited for what might ever come at any time. These natives will align their desires with the higher power and will be in deep alignment with their dharma and soul's path as a result, eradicating the separation between personal and universal will. So the real evolutionary positive manifestation of the moon in Swati is I surrender my desires, Lord. I surrender my desires, God. Please allow me to align myself to your will, Lord. Please allow me to align myself to your will, God, and the God that manifests for you, whether that be in any religion or spiritual tradition. The negative manifestation of the moon in Swati can include a highly erratic and unpredictable life for the native, in which they find it hard to gain stability or feel supported. This is from Lord Vayu. They can feel as outsiders in this life, and they can have a hard time fitting in with their society or culture, which is popular at the current time. They can also be very drawn to their own will and their own desires without recognition of what that higher power or God's will might be for them. Therefore, the concept of aligning to Dharma, going with the flow, and surrendering to the higher power's will are really the key themes with the moon in Swati here for its evolutionary aspect. So now we start to move into Scorpio a little bit. And let's discuss Vishakha. If you know me, this is my natural moon placement. I have my moon and Venus conjunct in Vishakha on the Libra side. So Vishakha starts at the 20th degree of Libra and goes to the 3.2 degree of Scorpio. So it just enters the beginning of Scorpio. Now, Vishakha Nakshatra has the ruling planet Jupiter, which is fairly neutral to the moon in general. So from a Nakshatra dignity perspective, it's really not good and it's really not bad. But the moon and Jupiter, we know they have a storied past together through Tara and the birth of Mercury. This is a deep historical past. This combination can sometimes develop great wisdom and insight into the higher self and develop extreme amounts of self-control and discipline. The moon in Vishakha, it can develop this discipline. The moon in Vishakha can also create incredible powers of manifestation through its Shakti, as well as an affinity to be of service and support to the less fortunate. This is an important aspect. They really want to be able to give away what they've been given. Vishakha Nakshatra has the ruling devata of Indra, one of the supreme deities or devatas of the Vedas. Agni can also be mentioned as a ruling devata here. So again, it's a combination of, I think, Agni and Indra and Agni both need recognition here. The energy of Indra as being a fierce, strong, and dominant force in the celestial hierarchy creates a very intense native and energy when the moon is in Vishakha. These people are intense. These natives through Indra can be very powerful and manifest their dreams and have a large influence over others and society. So they can really have a large influence on others. Agni's influence on the moon in Vishakha creates a burning intensity towards success, truth, and wisdom. So these are really truth seekers. These are really wisdom seekers, moon in Vishakha natives. Now, the positive manifestation of the moon in Vishakha creates devotion to service and using our gifts in abundance in the creation of something to serve the greater good. So again, taking the gifts that we've been giving and giving away, passing it along. These evolved moon Vishakha natives are inclined to balance all aspects of life, like family, career, relationships, social life, substance use. They're all very balanced. They don't do anything in extreme. Usually they are politically moderate as well. These are people that really embody moderation as a huge lesson. This combination can also make the native very attractive in terms of social situations because they can bring a lot of fun and excitement to a social situation through their passion and intensity. Due to the transformative effect of this nakshatra, Moon and Vishakha natives can often have two aspects to themselves. One inclined towards others in service, and another inclined towards the self and the attainment of their desires. Bringing these two into balance is the real evolutionary aspect. The negative manifestation of the moon in Vishakha includes the potential to be domineering, dominating, controlling, and they can be self-obsessed. As these moon Vishakha natives are determined to manifest their wishes and desires, they can sometimes be argumentative, rebellious, and oppositional in their nature when they don't see eye to eye with another person. So they can be very disagreeable sometimes with people who don't have a similar consciousness. They can have deep issues with authority and being told what to do, and can also struggle to find a healthy and sustainable outlet for this service theme of this nakshatra. How do I be of service with this nakshatra? Because it really wants to be of service, but again, it has issues with authority, so it has to find the balance there. Now we dive a little bit deeper into the Scorpio nakshatras, where we find Anuradha nakshatra, which starts at the 3.2 degree of Scorpio and ends at the 16.4 degree of Scorpio. So it's in the entire Scorpio. Now, Anuradha Nakshatra has the ruling planet Saturn, which is an enemy to the moon. And now we're getting into some, concepts as to where the moon is debilitated and all that. But remember, we're talking nakshatra dignity. So I'm not looking at this placement as debilitated. From a nakshatra dignity perspective, this is a mixed moon placement. The effect of the moon in Anuradha can actually be quite profound in that it supports alignment to Dharma. So the moon in Anuradha really helps get a native to their Dharma. But the Saturn aspect includes setback, delays, and challenges for those alignments to occur. So it's a challenging aspect, but in the long term, it really yields this positive dharmic alignment. Now, Anuradha Nakshatra has the ruling devata of Mitra, Lord of unity and friendship with humanity. So Mitra will bless the Moon Anuradha native with an inclination towards friendship and community. This influence of Mitra will make the Moon Anuradha native someone who wishes everyone to get along with. And I will even say a quote to symbolize this for the Anuradha Moon native. Life is hard enough. Can't we all just get along? This is how the Moon Anuradha thinks. Also, Radha, who is Krishna's consort, is a very powerful presiding deity over this nakshatra. This creates an energy of deep devotion, which is connected to one of Anuradha Nakshatra's Shaktis and greatest powers. So those natives with Moon and Anuradha can have a deep connection to spirituality, religious devotion, as well as a wish to maintain harmony in both family and social realms. Radha, through her blessing of the moon in Anuradha connection, supports marriage and family wellness with this position. The positive manifestation of the moon in Anuradha includes someone who is kind, thoughtful, compassionate, and caring. Moon in Anuradha can support the native to overcome any challenge if they put their energy and mind to it, yielding beautiful results once overcame. I call this the grass is greener on the other side, because for the Moon in Anuradha native, there's a direct relationship between the challenges we have when we overcome them and then the positive results will yield themselves. So these people have a special affinity to make other people feel good and can be of service to supporting others in a very beautiful way. They are balanced and moderate in their dealings with others, creating potential unity in social circles. And they have very deep friendships as well. Moon and Anuradha can have really beautiful heart opening ability as well, because we have weathered storms with the moon in Anuradha, which helps us develop compassion, hopefully. When we go through turmoil and challenges in life, it will either break our heart open or cause it to close. Now, the negative manifestation of moon in Anuradha includes someone who may feel defeated, overwhelmed, and reclusive from the trials and tribulations of their life because of Saturn's influence, right? And this may feel as if they are victims in the world and can't break free from the patterns that don't support them. They can feel trapped. They can feel trapped in a struggle, trapped in a challenge. They can be heavy-hearted when uninvolved with this position. And then the benefic energy of Mitra is mitigated here. The friendship energy is challenged. and the native can have a hard time developing lasting or meaningful friendships or romantic bonds as well. There's a deep evolutionary lesson here with the moon in Anuradha, that we must persevere through these obstacles in life to obtain the fruits of our labors and desires. We cannot give up when the challenge is there. That is the lesson for the moon in Anuradha. We must overcome the challenge, then we will get the benefit. Now, the last nakshatra we'll be covering today. One of my favorite nakshatras, my Aunt Makarika nakshatra, which is Jyeshta, which starts at 16.4 degrees in Scorpio and ends at the sign of Scorpio at the last degree, the 30th degree of Scorpio. Now, Jyeshta nakshatra has the ruling planet Mercury, which is an enemy to the moon. So from a nakshatra dignity perspective, this can actually be a challenging placement for the moon. This creates an energy where the emotion and the intellect attempt to find balance and come into union with each other, right? So the heart and the mind want to find balance with each other. When the moon enters Jyeshta, it creates a very regal and potent alignment, which the native is inclined towards the attainment of knowledge, power, and meaning to their life work. So again, there's a very powerful energy whenever any planet enters Jyeshta. Now, Jyeshta Nakshatra has the ruling devata of Indra, a supreme deity of the Vedas. This creates an energy in this nakshatra of profound determination, fearlessness, boldness, and intensity, because these are the qualities of devata Indra. Moon and Jyeshta natives can be very intense from this influence of Indra and often very courageous and bold in the decisions they make and the way that they communicate. They can be very straightforward. Indra offers Moon and Jyeshta natives this incredible power in the direction of prosperity within the material world. And generally speaking, a strong Jyeshta position can create fame, wealth, and reaching the highest position in someone's career. So again, when the moon is in Jyeshta, if it's in a strong Arta position, it really is supporting the individual's material and Arta prosperity. The positive manifestation of the moon in Jyeshta creates someone who is extremely passionate, well-educated, knowledgeable, and intense. And I mean intense in a good way, passionate. This intensity can manifest in which they are very serious about certain aspects of their life and prefer to have meaningful and deep conversations versus anything superficial or surface. Jyeshta moon natives have the potential to reach the highest points in their education and career and can even have a profound impact on society and the world, and even after they have left this earth. In other words, this is an extremely potent position with the moon in Jyeshta and Jyeshta Nakshatra in itself for leaving your mark on this world in some way, shape, or form. The negative manifestation of the moon in Jyeshta includes someone who is closed-minded, stubborn, and unrelenting in their personality. They can be work obsessed or work addicted, right? Workaholic. And therefore they can decline other aspects or areas of their life which are also important, like family and spirituality. Also, sometimes the intense boldness can become brashness for the moon and Jyeshta native and can manifest in a challenging way in which they are taking unnecessary risks for the attainment of their goal, risks which may prove to have consequence or repercussions. So there are deep lessons for the Jyeshta native, for the moon and Jyeshta native, about taking calculated risk, but not bold or brash risk. There is a deep also evolutionary theme here to stay focused on your priorities, which are having an impact on others versus the things which are for your own personal power and fame, because Jyeshta in general and the moon in Jyeshta will bring the power and fame, but we must stay focused on the more important priorities as well, which is our family, which is our spirituality and relationship with God, and our relationship with our partner, and many of these more deeper things. We must also, even as we become very successful with the moon in Jyeshta or other Jyeshta positions, we must balance this with other aspects of our life. Again, I want to thank you all for enjoying this presentation with me. Every planet and every nakshatra, we're starting with the moon. This presentation, we went from Magha, which is the 10th nakshatra, to the 18th nakshatra, which is Jyeshta. In the next presentation, we will be finishing the moon in every nakshatra and then moving on to another planet or upagraha. I will let that be a surprise for now. Thank you all for joining us today. Many blessings. Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste.